Hello guys, welcome back to India's cricketing season. भाई साहब 40 दिन का ब्रेक था. सही में बताऊं 40 दिन से काफी बड़ा लगा था हम सबको. हम सब वेट कर रहे थे कब क्रिकेट आएगा. And yeah, of course we are here. The BGM bang on for Ashwin and Jadeja and the way they played today. We've got Neha Shetty, we've got Nikhil Popat as well. Hello folks. How happy are you with the counter attack? How happy are you with Ashwin's century in what was potentially his last game at Chepauk? Lots to talk about, Neha.
Absolutely. I mean, what a riveting day of Test cricket it has been, right? Considering the start India had, I think a lot of us were going in with such poor expectations of how the rest of the match would turn out. But we saw, right, how the pitch kind of changed its colors as the match progressed. We had the likes of, Ashwin and Jadeja, step up with the bat. Not to forget Jaiswal, also kind of giving that impetus, holding one end while the rest of the batting was just kind of collapsing. Kudos to Bangladesh, for putting in that fight early on, but somewhere I think they just kind of lost the plot.
Yeah, somewhere they lost the plot, says Neha. Nikhil bhai, हमने मिनल के टाइम पे भी डिस्कस किया था कि what are Bangladesh's best chances at winning the game and stuff like that. We all spoke about, at least I spoke about how Bangladesh's best shot is probably at batting first and then trying to score a decent enough first innings total and then take it from there. They won the toss. They got the job half done, but they opted to field first. Moisture and all of that was cited as reasons. Rohit Sharma himself told कि boss, अगर हम भी toss जीते तो हम पहले field ही करते. In hindsight and in foresight, what did you make of that call?
Yeah, you can't say that you saw that coming because I don't think any one of us we are accustomed to seeing subcoordinate wickets. Okay, you will obviously think but still bat first. So it was very interesting to see that call. It was even more bizarre to hear Rohit say that even he would have bowled first. But maybe that is something that they expected that it will not crack up in the first couple of days, and whatever movement or help that we'll get for the bowlers might be from this 1 or 2 hour session. And see, to be honest, to both teams, I would still feel Bangladesh did their job as well as they could have. I mean, 144 odd by 5-6, you have them at that rate. Wahan se if you allow teams to come back, so then it doesn't matter what you do first because you did not make the most of it. So it was a very interesting, very brave call. And now they are left ruined thanks to some brilliant batting from Jadeja-Ashwin.
Yeah, brilliant batting for sure. But Neha, again, talk us through that first. यार मतलब क्या था वो in terms of wickets falling left, right, and center. We all were waiting for Kohli's comeback. Rohit was also playing Test cricket at home or after the England series, so काफी बड़ा break वहाँ पे भी था. Everything gone, done and dusted. Hasan Mahmud with the new ball was really the record in chief for them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very nervy start for Team India. There was a lot of excitement. I thought a lot more crowd would come, to watch the match here at Chepauk, but a very limited crowd. We could see the weather was also like acting up a little. I think even Ravichandran on comms went on to say something like, Switzerland type weather here. But you could really see the ball was doing a lot. And credits to Hasan Mahmud, the way he made the most of those conditions and dismissed what our top three just like that, right? So in that sense, I think there was some issue with the resistance shown by our batters. Again, Virat Kohli gets out to an outside off-stump delivery, which just did not need to be nicked. But again, I think that those are problems, we need to definitely address because it was a very unnecessary shot. It just felt questionable. But even Shubman Gill's stand, getting out for a 8-ball duck was definitely not ideal. And somewhere, I think again, a lot of people are raising questions on if he's the right ideal number 3. A lot of people are looking at him as also the successor of Pujara, right, in this format. So I think he's definitely not helped those critics with a performance like this. So in that sense, I think again, credit to Bangladesh where due, and that's where Hasan Mahmud really carried on that performance from that Bangladesh versus Pakistan Test series onto this one so beautifully, and I think did give India a run for the money.
For sure. I mean, we will be talking about Hasan Mahmud and a lot more in terms of what happened. But of course, for the uninitiated, in terms of what we saw today, India ending the day's play at 339 for 6. Asked to bat first. They were in all sorts of trouble. 37 for 3 later on, 144 for 6. Jaiswal, of course, was one of the only batters in the top order to score a 52, score something meaningful. But then, of course, it was all down to that 7th wicket partnership between Ravichandran and Ravindra Jadeja, two of India's most dependable players when it comes to Test cricket for the better part of the last 10 years. And it once again was the case. 102, an unbeaten 102, if I may say so, for Ashwin. Of course, Ravindra Jadeja unbeaten on 86 at stumps in day one. Bangladesh, when it comes to their bowling, Hasan Mahmud, like we spoke about, 4 for 58 was the pick of the bowlers for them. Mehdi and Nahid Rana, both of them chipped with the wicket, but unfortunately, that wasn't good enough. Surprisingly, the overs rate was also very, very, very slow. They crawled to their 80 overs. यार मतलब तुम अगर 10 बजे 9:30 बजे मैच स्टार्ट करके पूरा 5 बजे तक मैच लेके जाके तुम खाली 80 ओवर डाल रहे हो तो यार कुछ तो सोचना पड़ेगा वहां पे भी. That was definitely a cause for concern. But Nikhil bhai, talking about Hasan Mahmood's spell there, especially in the first session, let's just have the beehive out. Just देखिए यार क्या खिलाया वहां पे बैटर्स को.
Yeah, exactly. When you saw that new ball being taken by Taskin and Hasan, I mean, I did put out a tweet that he was the guy that was looking forward to, because he's the one who's predominantly bowling that fuller length without getting worried about runs coming off him. So with Taskin, you saw him bowl short, bowl a bit wide, but you look at that group of groupings, it's all there in terms of varieties. The only thing that the first 4 or 5 balls you see, the first over was probably the one where he did not hit his mark, but then you can excuse him for just his first over. Uske baad, you saw him bring the ball back into Rohit. He troubled him he had one inside edge, which saved. It was actually an umpire's call, not even an inside edge that saved Rohit there. But the second time out, he got him to edge into the slip cordon. So I think as good as you can get in terms of the new ball bowling, just the right amount of full length. Ke bhai, you are not sure whether to stay back or go forward. And Taskin, I think Bangladesh will also feel that they missed out there. That it was just one guy who hit the mark for them. Nahid Rana was good, but he was going to bowl short, so that wasn't an ideal scenario for them. I do genuinely feel that they missed out a trick by not bowling spin at immediately, and they stuck to pace for a long time, because moisture also helps the spinners, get some grip, some bite, and then maybe what could have happened. But India is not complaining. Thank you, Bangladesh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure IPL blokes will remember it Singleto about what moisture can do to spinners if you know what I mean, of course. But Neha, again, in terms of that first session, just sticking to it for a bit. Moisture tha, sab pata tha, pacers were going to enjoy that first session with the new ball especially. But even then, were you fine with that call taken and especially the way they progressed? Because Nikhil Bhai clearly also spoke about how they probably gave their pacers, a spell too much, and which probably, ended up being the difference between how this could have been a great day for them to being an average day.
Definitely, I think Bangladesh did miss a trick or two there, not enforcing the spinners early on. Probably they could have made the most of those conditions. But I think because, they were feeling so confident that our pacers are doing the job, restricting the run flow. You have Hasan Mahmud who's getting you the wickets from one end, might as well, just have pacers operating from both ends, which could be, probably one of the reasons why they were kind of doing that. But even just looking at the Chepauk conditions, right, it was playing very unlike Chepauk, which was kind of surprising in that sense. So I think we'll have to, also give some, I don't know, like brownie points to the opposition, because probably they were trying to understand and make the most of those conditions. But that still doesn't kind of excuse how, the likes of Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, and Virat Kohli, got out so cheaply. Because if you had the likes of Jadeja and Ashwin who came later on, to score those runs, I know the pitch kind of, changed as well, with the match progressing. But the stalwarts, the pillars of your batting not being able to, make the most of the conditions, for me, that was, the bigger concern and a talking point, because we have an imperative series, the one versus New Zealand coming up. Then we have the BGT as well, which I think a lot of us are just looking forward to so much. So somewhere it felt more of a letdown in the batting performance, but not taking anything away from, Bangladesh's bowling effort, especially in that first half.
I mean, batting performance के बारे में तो बात करना ही है निखिल भाई. That counter attack, it was a counter attack to remember for the ages, यार. मतलब we've always come to expect Ashwin and Jadeja in particular. We've made no sort of mince about the fact that Jadeja is arguably India's best test batter, and given that, we knew कि expectations तो रहेगा वहाँ पे from him. But for Ashwin to come good yet again at Chepauk, I mean, it's a fairy tale come true for him.
And how better to do it after a great TNPL. You have to take into consideration that, because he spoke in some of his interviews also how he wanted to access different parts of the ground, wanted to focus on getting the boundaries in. And see, when you try and do this for some other format, it will translate into your best format as well, because now you are aware that these are my options. What is the opposition trying to do? And as you spoke in that partnership, it was Ashwin who started this. Jadeja was there, he hit one of the spinner and then he waited. It was Ashwin that whenever he got anything loose, he was quick to pounce on it, whether it is a cut or whether it is something. And you always know, okay, with Ashwin, he's not going to hold back if it's there. So there were, I think, a couple of edges that went over the slip bottom, but he was happy to take the risk because he knew that the bowlers are tiring. They're not going to always, be that disciplined as they were in the first session. So they put the pressure back on them, and you saw the results. In terms of also the spinners missing their mark, this is as harmless as I have seen Shakib bowl. And this is not something that you can just say. Shakib has been part of cricket for 2 decades now. He's more than good enough to know where to bowl, what to bowl, and how to bowl. But he was got in late, but there was no pressure at all. So I think kudos to Ashwin to start that counter attack. And once it's that kind of thing. Third session, bowlers tiring, tired legs, and you're suddenly missing inspiration. In fact, the last over from Mominullah, you actually saw better purchase for Mominul than you saw for Shakib. It just tells you how it's just mindset usage. Again, the word that being the operative word that Jadeja was more than happy कि भाई Ashwin run बनाओ जितना बनाना है, and to its second test and at home in front of her family, possibly his last home test. You cannot write a better script for our Ashwin.
Yeah, you couldn't have definitely. Like Nikhil Bhai mentioned, in front of his family, in front of his home crowd, in front of a crowd, a ground that he's played so much of his cricket. He learned his cricket. So it was definitely, a very heartwarming story. One of those, romantics, one of those stories that feel romantics like us love to watch the sport for. इसीलिए तो हम ये sport देखते हैं, of course. Not to forget that solid counter-attacking partnership of 195 runs between Jadeja and Ashwin, and unbeaten again, once again, an unbeaten 195 run partnership between them is what has helped India to ensure कि बॉस जो भी हो यहाँ से मैच हार पाना तो बहुत मुश्किल है. They've reached a position of safety, to put it very simply. uh, I know Avnish यहाँ पे नहीं है because Avnish is in Chennai. He is doing his fan camps. Already अपना attendance register करते हुए यहाँ पे कि बॉस fan camps तो fun था ही. Thank you so much, Avnish. I hope you're having fun. Like Neha mentioned, the crowds weren't as packed as we expected it to be. We've always thought of Chennai, knowledgeable crowd, जो भी हो इंडिया के मैचेस देखने आते ही है. Wasn't to be the case. There was a lot of chatter around कि बॉस tickets में थोड़ा ticketing में थोड़ा दिक्कत था, ये दिक्कत था. We don't know what the actual matter is. Of course, let's hope more crowds come in, given that tomorrow is Friday and then the weekend also comes across. So hopefully a lot more crowds for day 2, 3 and 4. Talking about the top performer of the day, of course, Jadeja Ashwin दोनों ने काफी शानदार पारियां खेली वहां पे, and because both of them are unbeaten, we can only hope that they go on and better their high scores as well if possible. But top performer के लिए सिर्फ एक ही नाम हो सकता है. It has to be the homeboy Neha. 102 not out of 112. What a knock that was.
Absolutely, no doubt that today, Ashwin had to be our top performer of the day. I think the way he constructed his innings, it was just fantastic, right? He went after the bowlers and, just made the most of the conditions. I think when KL Rahul was dismissed, India was looking at what, 144 for 6. And the manner in which, he stitched that partnership with Jadeja was just so remarkable and so refreshing to see, because at that point I think a lot of fans had just shut off their TVs, having given up hope of any sort of comeback. But I think he just kind of personified why we watch Test cricket, right? To see that resilient knock, to see how you can actually make the most of the toughest of the possible conditions to come out with a knock like this. I think the camera was panning a lot at his father as well, who was watching it from the stands. And in his book also he mentions about the role that his father plays in his journey as well. So for Ashwin, the homeboy, I think this was such a imperative note to just remind everyone that hey, I'm still here. And I think we've seen his batting exploits, for such a long period of time. This was his sixth Test century as well, and another one in front of his home crowd is definitely one to savor. And hopefully, he will write about it as well in his following books. So yeah, waiting for that, I guess.
Waiting for that for sure, but lot of questions, yaar. Nikhil bhai, humse zyada to clearly our audience is all revved up. I've almost lost track of the comments that are just flowing around. That's what we love about our community. It's not कि लोग cricket ऐसे ही देखते. They all are a community of solid cricket watchers, which is what makes us also on our toes. Because भाई ऐसा नहीं कि हमने कुछ बोल दिया और हट गए. We'll definitely be taking your questions. You guys can continue chatting, of course, but we will take your questions. We'll answer them as well. Let's start off with what I can see recently. Akshay, of course. Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while, clearly. Do you think the ball that dismissed Jaiswal is his weakness? Back of a line delivery, middle stump, just going a bit away and then edge to slip. निखिल भाई क्या लगता है? बिकॉज गाबा गाबा नहीं तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में तो ये लेंस ही मिलने वाले, हेजलवुड, स्टार्क, कमिंस, ये सारे भैया लोग उनको फुल लेंथ डिलीवरीज नहीं देंगे ड्राइव करने के लिए. तो क्या लग रहा है वहां पे?
A fair shout, but I do will want to credit Jaiswal firstly for still playing a very good knock right up top, because I think it was very difficult to bat in that first hour and a half, and you saw how I mean, if you're getting beaten by a bloke bowling good pace, good lines, even after crossing 50, it just tells you conditions are not easy and you are never in. So Jaiswal, for that matter, pounced on anything loose. And see, the one thing we discussed about Jaiswal, even in the England series, was it is the way he paces his innings. That there is a wicket fallen, you don't see Jaiswal coming down the track to go, okay, ruk main tera chhat ke upar marta hu. Nahi. What's required of the situation? It requires me to get myself in. He does that, but if there is anything loose, he'll ensure that wo bhi boundary ko jata hai. So credit to Jaiswal for getting a very hard fought 50. To the point about him being vulnerable, again, that is something we've discussed at length, even in the IPL, that sometimes some weaknesses can be found in other formats, which can then come to trouble you. And this is why I really felt that maybe that is what Taskin was trying to do by being short, that this is what we want to try and bowl to Jaiswal, कि उसको short डालेंगे थोड़ा बाहर जाता हुआ IPL में, that is how he's got out. But they could not execute it well. Nahit Rana with his extra pace just hit the right lane, and he did, again, it's not setting up, but he did beat him enough, whether it was bowling over the wicket or around the wicket. So, and as you said, Hazelwood, Cummins, they don't need more in terms of insights, because there was also that one incident where Litin Das knew that Jaiswal is walking down the wicket. So even he had his gloves off him, ke, if there is a chance, like he did with Short Shakil, ke, I'll stump this guy because he's walking down the wicket. So it just tells you how much people are now doing homework. So Australia to कोई chance नहीं है कि ये चीज छोड़ेगा, and which is what makes this even more fascinating from Jaiswal's POV, that how does he counter something like that? Because I feel, I mean, his beehive might be interesting to look at, that how many did he actually get in that area? Because you think of Jaiswal, you can look at the drives that he hit and the clips that he had. Some of them were forced, but I don't think Bangladesh were able to build concentrated amount of balls in that area. So credit to Nahid Rana firstly for doing that, and some blame also has to go to his batter at the other end for not putting any pressure on the bowling at all. But I'm sure we'll discuss about him in detail.
I mean, in detail, let's discuss that right now. So before we go further, that's a very valid point, right? Taskin Ahmed, you would have thought ki boss, अच्छा combination है, because Hasan Mahmud is doing well. You would have thought कि Taskin Ahmed और अच्छा, मतलब और अच्छा नहीं तो he's the experienced pro, so he will more often than not take the mantle and ensure he leads the attack well. Wasn't necessarily the case. Hasan Mahmud was wreaking havoc, but Taskin Ahmed seemed all in all sorts in terms of how he was bowling. His first 4 overs went for 22 runs. He conceded boundaries very easily. Neha, how much of a role did that play, especially in that 1 hour? Because they could have very easily had 5, 6, if not more wickets in that first session. It's the way the ball was doing.
Absolutely. I mean, just looking at Taskin, he's such an experienced campaigner, having played for so many years. So you would have expected a much better showing from him. But as you rightly pointed out, I think that first spell, he just looked all over the place. So it's like from the other end, there was absolutely no pressure at all. And you could see how India was kind of just making the most of that. I think Taskin bowled just one maiden in his 15 over spell or so. And he didn't look as menacing as, we would have expected him to do. And yeah, it just felt like a letdown in that sense, and just puts unnecessary pressure on Hasan Mahmud to kind of keep coming back and trying to make the most of that surface. I think Taskin would want to kind of have a reevaluation of what kind of went wrong today, and just perhaps come back stronger.
100%. Let's hope for Bangladesh's sake that Taskin is able to come back stronger there, because it won't be easy for them given how the surface flattened over the course of the day, and which was expected, which is why again I cannot stop cribbing about the fact कि यार तुम लोग toss जीते. I know the first star was going to be tricky, मैं मना नहीं करा, but given how the day has panned out, I don't think it takes a lot of foresight to realize कि boss एक ही घंटा है, moisture dry हो जाएगा, उसके बाद surface आपके लिए, it's for the batters to make merry. And like Ravi Shastri just said, in the end, Ravi, Jadeja and ASHWIN were very smart in ensuring third session धूप है, कुछ नहीं है surface पे. Time for you to make hay when the sun shines, and that's exactly what they did. They scored at about 5.2 clicks, if not faster, in that last session. So, and that was necessary. That's all they had to do. Like, it would take just one or two batters, and anyways, we'll save that conversation for later. But Tanveer यहाँ पे कहते हुए कि I'm impressed with Nahir bhai. He's so consistent with his pace, 140 plus. Pace अच्छा है, line और length मेरे को अच्छा लगा. You know, he's got those test match lengths. It's now all it's all about just understanding how to be consistent in terms of the lines and lengths and just sticking to it. It will take time for him also to develop. He's still a 21-year-old, so he's still a kid. Make no mistake. काफी अच्छा लगा उसको देखते हुए. I'll be honest, I hadn't seen him in the Pakistan series, so I was actually looking forward to seeing him. He reminds me of those 1970s, 1980s West Indian bowlers in terms of his run-up and his action. Short run-up, very simple, ambles across. ऐसा नहीं लगता कि तेज भाग के डालने वाले. Very easy on the eye that way. So it's almost surprising. It takes you off guard कि बस पास से आ रहा है, just like Bumrah in some sense. पास से डालते तो लगता है कि इतना pace नहीं होगा, but not necessarily the case there. Taking a few more questions there. Damodar Bandla seems like a new name or a name I haven't seen a lot of. I have a message for Nikhil bhai when I said KL Rahul is so overrated. Nikhil started a rant on him. Now the joke's on him. Rahul is now such a player. He's just playing for nothing, no intent. Nikhil bhai, matlab, there are a few more comments. So addressing all the KL Rahul questions or discussions or taunts, what do you make of it? Like, are you still going to defend him? Said one comment, I don't remember who it was. So क्या आपके विचार है KL Rahul पे?
नहीं, KL has defended enough for me to not defend him. So in both puns, intended and not intended, it is very, very. I don't get the right word. Maybe frustrating that you can't fathom what is he trying to do at times. Because see, I have no problem with him taking time to get himself in and trying to build an innings, pace an innings. But from time to time, you want him to be able to put the pressure back. And here, I do not think. I mean, we've said this before as well. I don't think it's an issue of skill. It's just that sometimes you feel that he's just happy to wait. Now you can't wait all the time. You look at the dismissal. Yes, the catch is great, but why does it's almost like Javed Jafri from that Dawn movie? ऐसे सब time पे मैं अपने आप कैसे आगे आता तो I have no idea how KL Rahul finds himself in such situations. But the thing for him to take out is, did he put enough pressure on Mehdi Hasan? No. Did he try and use his feet to come down? Was it spinning for him to not do it? No. Did he try and sweep something enough to put him off his length? No. So if you wait for it, something will happen that will have your number. And again, it wasn't spinning, so there was no reason for him to not try something. So again, I'm not too perturbed by the image that has been built, but I'm slightly perturbed by the actions of KL himself, that you will have to be a bit more proactive. And if you want somebody to pick a leaf out of, take Jaiswal's example. See, it's okay to get out to good balls or even bad balls or to something very special. But what did you do till that point of time is very, very important. I think KL at this point of time is getting stuck, that he is possibly thinking that occupation of crease is possibly the best way I can go about it. And see, he did not look troubled. And that is what makes it even worse. Okay, you're not even looking troubled, but still you're not able to see that, bhai, I'll have to be a bit more proactive, put pressure back on the bowler so that they bring the paces on. They will be even more tired. So you're not helping yourself, you're not helping the guy at the other end as well. So again, as much as I love KL, I still hope that somebody will talk to him, because if not in this home series, then unfortunately the writing will be on the wall for him, because this is just going to pile on. He may not read, he doesn't have to read us, but he knows himself that he just has to be a bit more proactive from my end.
I mean, he surely has to be proactive, and it doesn't take a lot to understand. Yeah, rocket science thing in terms of what's happening there, and the dismissals, more than anything, it's the mode of dismissals. वो देख के लगता है अरे क्यों ऐसे क्यों आउट हो रहे यार? You're so much more talented than that. Why do you have to get out? And again, it's not that we are KL Rahul fans or we're not KL Rahul fans. ऐसा नहीं है. We all love the guy. We all know. The reason why we are so angry is because we recognize कि है potential है वहाँ पे, वो खेल सकता है, उसका बस चले वो कुछ भी कर सकता है. But despite that, he chooses to play this man. It's not even productive enough for his side. अगर ठीक है तुम slow खेल के अगर तुम अपनी टीम के लिए कुछ अच्छा कर रहे हो, like if it's helping the team, sure, then go for it. It's not helping the team's cause. It's not helping his cause. तो हमें समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि चल क्या रहा है पे. So let's just hope. Let's just hope he's able to do much better in the three remaining innings. Of course, one here in Chennai and the two in Kanpur. Assuming India do come back to bat, which I don't think will be happening. But talking about some of the stats that or records that were beaten this time around, right now let's have those out. Highest seventh wicket all over partnership against Bangladesh in tests. The first one, of course, is 223 between Prasanna Jayawardene and Chaminda Vas way back in 2007. Ravichandran, Ashwin and Jadeja are inching closer towards it. They're just less than 30 runs away from it. I mean, less than 50 runs away from it. 183 is where their partnership stands at right now. And yeah, tomorrow they will be hoping for a lot more runs, to put it very simply. जैसे मैंने कहा था, अगर इंडिया पहले बैटिंग करेगी, so they would want to score 400, 450 and then खत्म कर देंगे. Innings victories what they will be aiming for, of course. Sorry, we stand corrected. 195 is where the partnership is at right now. At the end of day's play, of course. Second stat, and a very interesting one, is that players just score multiple centuries and take multiple 5-wicket hauls at a venue in tests. Gary Sober's 200s, 2 fifers in Leeds. Then there's Ian Botham, 200s, 3 fifers in Leeds. Kapil Dev, 200s, 2 fifers in Chennai. And then, of course, there's Chris Gaines as well, 200s, 2 fifers in Auckland. And only the fifth all-rounder in all test cricket, Ravi Ashwin, 200s, 4 fifers at his home in Chennai. Hi, sir. We were sort of making these jokes outside कि Ravichandran Ashwin is a different sambar when it comes to Chennai. Boss, इतना आसान नहीं होता उसको खेलना वहाँ पे. And bat ho, ball ho. We all remember the last innings, of course, that century. His banter with Siraj. मैं तेरे पे भरोसा करके तेरे को strike दिया है. बस. And of course, Sir Viv, aka Mohammad Siraj, knowing what Sir Viv would have done way back in his days. भाड़ में जाए भरोसा. मेरे को ball दिख रहा है, मेरे को मारना है, बाकी सब भाड़ में जाए. But yeah, anyways, coming back to today's game, that was fun to watch in terms of how Ashwin went about his business tomorrow. I mean, his business today. But what's in store for tomorrow, guys? Yeah, क्या लग रहा है वहाँ पे? Neha, let's start with you. Given how the surface has panned out in the latter half of day one, what are you expecting tomorrow?
Yeah, I think tomorrow is again going to be a very interesting day of cricket. I think the first half we might again, probably see the surface act up a bit, and that's where India will have to be a little resistant. Just take each ball as it comes, just bide their time, and then I think they can eventually probably try to bat as much as probably till 450 or even 500. So there is no situation for them to again come and bat. So perhaps batting up to 500 is something they can definitely go. You have two set batters, and they would want to make the most of the kind of starts they've got. So I'm hoping at least India does go up to that 500 and just capitalizes on the situation.
Interesting. Nikhil bhai, what do you make of it? Because there's not a lot of batting to follow. In case you forgot, of course, India have gone ahead with 3 pacers in just the 2 spinners in Jadeja and Ashwin. So it's Akashdeep, Bumrah and Siraj to follow, most likely in that very order. So kya lagta, how do you expect India's batters to bat? And importantly, how do you expect the Bangla bowlers to operate tomorrow?
Imagine the events that have happened on the day that you have not even discussed Kuldeep not playing this test match. So it just tells you how some things that none of us saw coming have happened. But looking forward to the game tomorrow, you just expect India to just bat as much as they can. I don't think there has to be any need to be urgent or be aggressive. Just do what you did today. Play on the merit of it. Of course, conditions might be different tomorrow morning. Whether there is sun shining, then it means the ball should not do much, but they'll have the new ball. So that is also a time that you have to take into consideration that the new ball will come. Now it could fly, but it could also lead to a collapse. So I think it will possibly be that how Ashwin and Jadeja started, that one guy will probably look to hold an end. And I think it probably be Ashwin only who will continue to look for the runs, while Jadeja will be like, मैं खेलता हूँ, जब तक ये खत्म नहीं होता मैं इधर ही. So, and I don't mind that because first innings are where games are set up. So I would want India to just bat 2 sessions. They'll get past 450. And I think that is something that I'm very comfortable. Actually, I'll take it hands down at 34 for 3. Even more at 144 for 5. So for me, 450 would be an ideal target, like a bare minimum at this point of time. But even if they end up with less than 400, I'll take it because it could have easily been a lot worse.
Interesting predictions देते हुए वहाँ पे निखिल भाई. There were a couple of questions that I wanted to take before we move on. Yeah, because we also briefly mentioned the third seamer and whatnot. sports fans specifically asking Nikhil Bhai there. Next, do you think it was wise of both teams to play a third seamer? Because will we see what we saw in the morning session today in terms of the conditions that is on day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5 as well?
See, that is difficult to say as a black and white answer that 100% yes, you will see. But you generally expect the teams to be able to know the conditions better, having been there enough prior to the game. So India were trained for a week, so they would know how were the conditions from say 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and do they seem that okay moisture hai har subah. So half an hour to you will anyways have by default in most venues across the world. But how long will that sustain? That is something which is very interesting to see, because I would be very honest, I did not see three pacers play for at any point of time. And whatever the Chepauk pitch would be, even if they left grass in the wicket, I wouldn't have possibly seen that happening. So maybe that is something that an intel that both teams have had, that spin it'll only break up after a couple of days, because see, it's a red soil surface, but if the sun is baking down, you expect the surface to break quicker. It may even be the first day or the second day. Weather is something that's not in your control. But maybe because the leader was such, they were completely into that idea. Okay, first session will probably be the bowler session, probably be the pacer session more like. So that's why you see the third pacer playing for both the teams.
All right, Nikhil Bhai has spoken there in terms of what he makes of it. I will just agree with him there कि यार जो भी हो, we know Chepauk surface in general कैसे खेलता है, especially in the subsequent days. और जो morning session की बात आती है, like it's a given, right? In Test cricket, we always talk about the morning session. यार वो paces के लिए ही है. So जो भी just take care of the morning session, and the afternoon and the evening session will take care of you. That's essentially how I also look at it, which is why it was a tad bit surprising. But yeah, I mean, they will definitely have a better idea in terms of how the surface was going to play or would play. So which is why we should also not jump the gun in terms of what the result might be. That is, let's just take a last question before we wrap this up. Vasan saying the Indian team is a modern version of RCB. They're dependent on a few players. Akshay and Avnish, both Virat fanboys, should criticize Virat's short selections. I did not like the fact that I've been clubbed with Avnish as a Virat fanboy. So firstly, let me take offense to that. कि भाई मैं खुल्लम खुला गाली दूंगा विराट कोहली को और उसके शॉट सिलेक्शन को if I think it is incorrect, which is in this case, yeah, how many times I've lost count of how many times he's seen Virat Kohli get out outside the off stump again and again and again and again. तो पता है, and I agree with you, even I'm just as annoyed as you guys are कि boss, ये पता है 2011 में तुमने डेब्यू किया था, तभी तुम ऐसे आउट हो रहे थे. 2024 चल रहा है, अभी भी तुम ऐसे ही आउट हो रहे हो. नहीं चलता है. निखिल भाई क्या लग रहा है यहाँ पे? We speak about KL Rahul, we speak about everyone else. We have to talk about Virat Kohli ki it's almost contagious in terms of the way he plays there.
Yes, I have a theory which I think I'm more confident of now, in terms of after the last few innings, that I feel the earlier Virat did not quite need game time in terms of being ready, being situation ready, being in that zone. But I think with over the period of time, again, this I could be wrong. This is the earlier disclaimer. Okay, I think he needs more game time before matches now. It may not be the case in the past that he got in and he felt comfortable that I'm getting into the zone after a couple of nets. But maybe now is the time where he might need that fluency to come good. But if you look at the innings today, you didn't see him struggle as much. He had a neat clip, a good. He didn't feel okay. "Nahi, theek hai, he's doing okay." But then he got the ball and he went hard and he got out. So of course he knows more, and he'll probably be the better judge. Where is it going wrong? But I generally feel that the time has come for him to play a bit more prior to the start of the series, whether it is warm-up games or whatever it is, and then get into his zone, because this is something that's been happening suddenly again. It was like for a time period happening, this was not in your problem that हाँ नहीं सॉर्ट है 18-19 पे भी देखो क्या मस्त कंट्रोल से बैटिंग किया, कोई लोड नहीं है. साउथ अफ्रीका में भी अच्छी बैटिंग करी हमने, 40 का एवरेज था if I'm not wrong across 4 innings. So then suddenly why is this thing creeping up? So I feel generally it's that the zone is missing. The same Virat Kohli in terms of if he gets to bat in all the next 3-4 tests, he'll be far better player possibly in the New Zealand game ka second test or third test, because he would have had enough game time. But that is my theory, because these issues are not newborn. They've always been there. It is just how your decision making is, having done enough prep. So I wouldn't say he's not prepared well, but I just feel maybe the body or the game is such that he needs a bit more game time. And I could be wrong. This is just my theory.
We can only hope that the theory will be true because थोड़ा game time यहाँ पे मिलेगा और BGT में let's hope he's all in ready over there because ये series like I've always maintained मेरे को खाली इंडिया को overseas टेस्ट में जीतते हुए देखना है बाकी तुम बांग्लादेश न्यूजीलैंड को अपने नींद में भी हरा सकते हो पता है I know I might be jumping the one gun once again but it is what it is.
It could have happened today only had 144 per 6. Nobody was confident of India reaching past 300. So could have happened even today.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, fair enough. One last thing, of course, before we wrap today's review up, just a question for all of you guys. Let's have that out. Very interesting stats. So we thought let's make it into a question and see how much our knowledgeable audience will know about this stat and this question in particular. So Ashwin is the oldest Indian batter to score a Test century in the last decade. I'm sorry, there seems to be an error there. Let's just have that corrected. Only 3 Indians were older when they scored a ton in Test cricket. Who are they? So once again, to be clear, let's just have that edited out so that there's no confusion there in the last. मैं ही add कर देता हूँ ताकि time waste ना हो. So you guys can ID the answer at the end of the live stream in the main comment section. Of course, like always, we will give you a shout out this time around. इतना पैसा अपने पास भी नहीं, इतना बजट अपने पास भी नहीं कि हर बार वाउचर दे पाए. तो वाउचर के लिए MNL please देख लीजिएगा every Monday 8 p.m. We go live. There's of course How's That over there where we ask you a question and in case you know the answer to that, you guys stand to win a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher from us. Come the MNL. यहाँ पे आपको shout out मिलेगा, बहुत इज्जत मिलेगी हम सबसे. और तीनों से शाउट आउट मिलेगा चलिए एक नहीं दो नहीं 3 लोगों से सबसे शाउट आउट दूंगा दिलवाऊंगा. So let's have the question out once again. Ashwin is the oldest Indian batter to score a Test century in the last decade. Only 3 Indians were older when they scored a ton in Test cricket. Who are they? काफी सिंपल सा सवाल है देखते किस किस को ये आंसर पता है. आई सी द कमेंट सेक्शन ऑलरेडी वाइबिंग अप एंड या थैंकफुली ओके बॉस अगेन वंस अगेन लाइव चैट में मत डालो आप बस अपने फेलो व्यूअर्स का हेल्प कर रहे हो. प्लीज वेट फॉर द लाइव स्ट्रीम टू एंड यू गाइस कैन एंटर योर आंसर्स इन द मेन कमेंट सेक्शन टू स्टैंड एलिजिबल फॉर ऑफ कोर्स अ शाउट आउट फ्रॉम अस. One last thing, yeah. This is the first time you're seeing Neha, but yeah, Neha was a part of our coverage for the India-South Africa series. So, Nani Kaur Saab, yeah, Sahib, matlab, jo bhi hai, please make sure you keep watching us a lot more because there's also the Women's World Cup coming up. We will be covering that as well comprehensively. Neha will be part of that coverage along with Jeet and myself. Anyways, that's it from the first review bolna hai? Nahi. That's it from the review of day 1 of the first test between India and Bangladesh. That's happening in Chennai. Pura description de diya hai. We will be back tomorrow 5:15 p.m. like always talking about day 2 and how India ended up with 600 and how Ashwin scores his first ever test double century. That's it from all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you guys soon enough. Until then, it's a goodbye. There we go.